What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's been a minute since I reviewed a non-horror movie, so here you go. This is one I watched recently. I'm going to be talking about the 1990 big screen adaptation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. The film was directed by Steve Barron. It stars Judith Hoag and Elias Koteas and includes the voice talents of the thoroughly fucking insane Corey Feldman. So the film sees New York City under the siege of a crime wave being perpetrated by the Foot Clan, led by the evil Shredder, a Japanese martial artist who has been infiltrating American shores after a long reign of terror in Japan. This is being closely investigated by a journalist called April O'Neil who works for local television. One night, when attacked by the Foot Clan, she's rescued by 4 anthropomorphic teenage turtles who fight ninjutsu. I didn't realise how stupid this is until I just said it. They are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and they live in the sewers of New York City, where they have been trained in the art of martial arts by an anthropomorphic rat called Splinter. The Foot Clan soon kidnap Splinter, and it is up to the gang to try and rescue their master and defeat the evil that lurks in New York City. So I mean, it really helps to look at kind of the context of this movie in terms of talking about it. I mean, the fact that, you know, Ninja Turtles was a phenomenon at the time, you know, explains a lot of why this movie was so important. And you've got to bear in mind as well that it's trying to please two very different sets of people. There were two very different sort of sections of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans at the time. There was kind of this sort of maybe teenage comic book audience who were big fans of the Mirage comic book Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was quite a sort of dark kind of comedy action comic book that incorporated a lot of kind of dark themes. And they were also trying to please the kind of television audience who was slightly younger, who were watching the Saturday morning cartoon adaptation of the comic book, which took a much more kid-friendly approach to things. You know, the stories were changed slightly. Obviously, Raphael as a character underwent a total overhaul to make him more sort of child-friendly, if you will. And this movie kind of does its best to marry those two things together. This movie does have a sense of darkness about it that obviously comes from the comic book. You know, obviously Raphael being in a coma for a little while after being attacked by the Foot, then trying to, you know, it all feeling a little bit hopeless when they're trying to rescue Splinter, all of those types of things. They definitely work the dark themes in there, as well as the fact that Raphael in this movie is a lot more akin to his comic book origins than the character he was portrayed as in the TV series. Obviously in the TV series he was very kind of jokey, he was kind of one of the comedians of the group, whereas in the comic he was very much not, he was the very stern, serious one. And here that kind of carries over, and he's carrying a lot of pent-up aggression, a lot of rage. That's cool to see. He's definitely the most interesting character, I think, in this movie. He kind of constantly threatens to go off on his own, you know, he's very relatable in that sense. And I think it marries those two things quite well, like I say. On the topic of the actual look of the movie itself, it's great. The fight choreography is just stellar. And the puppeteering of the kind of the mouth movements and stuff of the turtles is great. It really, really looks superb. And considering this is guys in suits doing this stuff, it's not CG, it's not abominable like the you know, the more recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. I haven't seen the more recent one, but the one before I hated. But this movie, like I say, just, you know, the fact that it's guys in costumes, it's so much more kind of tactile and real, that even if the costumes are perhaps not the greatest you've ever seen, it at least feels like something that's really there and is kind of on screen and not something created on a computer. And on top of that, the movie is shot great. It's got a great general look. It's got that kind of theatrical look of, you know, everything is kind of a set, and it's not deliberately they're not deliberately trying to make it all look necessarily 100% real. There's some interesting things going on with lighting. There's a lot of kind of purples and greens in this movie, kind of as being used to light the whole thing. In terms of negatives, the story isn't necessarily the strongest. It does meander quite a lot. They spend a lot of time kind of just milling about and not doing an awful lot, or in flashback, which is fine, but it goes on a little bit in this movie, I'll be honest. Also, the love story between Casey Jones and April O'Neil is very unconvincing. She goes from not liking him at all to suddenly being in love with him, which is, you know, it's just not very convincing at all. It feels kind of half-baked and thrown in at the last minute. But overall, I've got to say that, you know, when the movie's on, you kind of get a little bit distracted from that and end up really enjoying it. And I mean, I know I do pretty much every time I see it. That could be down to the fact that my introduction to the Turtles came more with like the Next Mutation, which was the TV series that kind of, I guess, spun off a little bit from these movies. So I'm kind of used to this sort of iteration of the Turtles, and I'd probably say it's my favourite overall. It's definitely my favourite Ninja Turtles movie. But if it got into like the TV stuff, that's probably, or you know, all the sort of TV series, I would say those are my favourite kind of Turtle bits. I really like the current Nickelodeon series as it goes. The original Ninja Turtles movie serves its purpose great. It's a very satisfying movie for fans of the franchise, but it was never going to win many new supporters. I think that to enjoy this, you really had to go into it as a fan. But like I say, they made a real crowd-pleasing movie, which I guess is the first most important thing. Overall, I think this is a really enjoyable movie. I think it's worthy of an 8 out of 10. It's not quite the kind of classic, amazing moment that Ninja Turtles kind of needed, but it is definitely a very enjoyable movie for the whole family. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Luke Innes. Why don't you go down into the description and find the link to my podcast, Ironcast, where you can hear me talking about music with 2 other music nerds. Other than that, until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you soon with another review.